Welcome, aloha. I am Kiyose Daiji, and this is Simran Ishnan Kaur, and we are your ministers of unconditional love. I'm going to start today with the gong, and just to remember to follow the gong down into the silence and stillness of the unconditional love for each of us. Welcome.
Welcome. Aloha.
This is the religion of unconditional love, and we're here to show that unconditional love exists in everything. And in today's world, we find that this is really important because it's hard to see a path forward, a path that actually can see that we're moving from where we are today in this reality of war, separateness, human trafficking, and all these fears, extra fears in the world. How we can move from this reality and step into a world of unconditional love. And here we're sharing a space that we can show that unconditional love really exists in everything, so that we can begin to see that as we move through our day. And as we do that, and the more of us that do that, the reality that we create is that reality of unconditional love. We can see beyond the fear of this reality and move into a reality of heaven on earth.
Amen. So today, our wisdom teaching, or our core sharing, comes from a story, comes from our connection, our lives together. And some of you watching may have even had a little connection with this topic as well. And so we were like, what do we call this? And we didn't come up with one name, although we touched in on the fear of unconditional love. The fear of unconditional love.
Yeah.
Leading into truth.
Mm-hmm.
And do you want to say anything about that before we go into the actual teaching?
Yeah.
Because we'll go deeper into it as we go through to unpack it.
Yeah. Let's just move on from there. We can unpack it.
Okay. So, as the mystic, and watching, knowing, walking with spirit through everyday life, contemplating how I do things, how we do things, how others do things, live their life, how we bring spirit into our everyday life, and what level of spirit, what we call that, and whatnot. We touched upon the topic of connecting with spirit, because we're I'm preparing for a class this week coming up, which is around connecting with spirit. And, some of the questions that come up, and how I do things, how others do things, and looking at, mediumship, trance channel, psychic, intuition, all these different ways of knowing. What I call grace, which is direct, the mystic path, the direct connection to the beloved source. And just discussing, how, let's start here. Talking about how different mediums and psychics and trance channels connect and share their information. And I've worked with many, and have even interviewed many. We've got many different ways of knowing in the Spirit Whisperer series over the past, I don't know how many years, 5 years and whatnot. So talking and interviewing these people and seeing, well, how do you connect with spirit? What happens? What's the information that you're touching into? Where is that coming from? And, how do you know it's true? How do you know it's coming from that particular space? What's your belief around that? So we're touching into belief again as well. And so when we were chatting, I have my way, and it sort of includes a lot of different ways, but it is my direct experience. And so that's what I'll teach also, with touching into many other ways, because not everybody will learn the way that I do. The key was around, how will I say it? Around how spirit sees through our eyes. So take that as a piece, just to connect here for a moment. How spirit sees through our eyes. How spirit lives through our eyes. Now, take that one step further. When we're doing mediumship or connecting to past over loved ones or getting information from our ancestors, right? Where are we picking that information up from? Right, so this was the conversation, because there's many different ways of knowing, and if we're not going into that right now, but if you're interested, you can look it up on the website or whatnot. But I'm calling it spirit.
Yeah, we
right?
could say
sees through our eyes. So when we're no longer embodied, right? When we're no longer in this body, when we're passed on, we're dead, we're transitioning, whatnot.
Yeah, and so we're talking about like individual spirit.
And so we're talking about it all, but let's bring it down to
the individual and then
what we want to talk about today.
Yeah.
But this is where the discussion came from, right? It's like all these ways of knowing, and then I'm chatting away and saying how I experience passed over loved ones, how information comes into the field, how I know about you and your ancestry, right? And so I could say I'm talking to spirit, but I can also say I'm picking it up in the field. It's held in the field. And then it went into the interesting, well, that might be interesting to you, but more interesting conversation around, okay, well, spirit sees through our eyes. Spirit, or what we become, so passed over loved ones, our ancestors, any level aspect of spirit is walking life through us, experiencing life through us. Yeah.
And the more connected we are to somebody, the more their spirit or their soul, the information of that is imprinted into our own field. And so in some ways they walk beside us in that way. Just the closer we are to somebody, the greater the imprint of that soul or that spirit onto our field of information.
That's interesting.
And that can be picked up because they're always there. And there is an aspect as we embrace all this information, right? Because all these separate entities and all these separate packets of information and all this ways of information, all of it comes from unconditional love. These are all just diffracted packets of information. I'm a diffracted packet of information of unconditional love. I express it in this way. Somebody else expresses it that way. As a spirit or a soul, we express it and hold it in the way that we were in this lifetime with other people. And that expression is the expression of the soul that attaches to our field. And actually, as we accept that, that's kind of where the soul can then start to begin to see through our own eyes. Like that person actually becomes a part of who we are, and we're allowing that spirit to see through our eyes in that way.
So there's a piece I just want to pick up on that's I think is interesting, so I'm going to share it. So when if you have a tradition and you are connected to that teacher, master, guru, whatnot in the past, when they pass over, they become part of you. So that's the lineage, and that's what I've known for probably 30 odd years.
Yeah. And we could see this in religion too.
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh, like it's anything. So the next piece is that. So that's I guess that is part of religion. If whoever your teacher, master, guru, whatever, part of the, whatever you follow anyway, it doesn't matter. It like just hear the teaching. When that person dies, they become more of who you are, right? Because the unconditional love is there. Now, over the years, I just see that in everything. So the more that you love a pet, a child, a family member, and whatnot. So this is where how I understand death is probably a little different to the majority. It doesn't make it the way that you have to or don't have to understand it.
That's how we accept it
And
ourselves.
yeah, I've helped enough people and I'll just say beings, but animals and creatures pass over in my time, and how they have left the body and how they have moved through me to understand there's more to, there's so much more, and we don't need to pick it apart. But when we do love, when that person passes, they do become more of who we are. So if you think about what we just started with, that when our loved ones pass, even our critters, they are more human than anything. But let's just include the critters, because I've had many opportunities to experience, all of my pets and fur friends over the years, that they are walking with me and they're processing. So here's the teaching for today. They're processing their life, the life they just had, and have transitioned into a new birthing, what we as humans call death, but that's new, it's a birthing into something more. That they are then processing the life they lived through us.
Right.
So hear that. You say it in your way, because
Yeah.
I want people to get what we just said.
Yeah, because it is, when we love somebody unconditionally, and we're holding that kind of a place for them and their spirit, we're accepting both the love and fear of who they are. And this is how, like, how generational expressions and how we become similar to other people in our lives is by picking up on other people's information, and that information becomes a part of our own expression. So when someone dies like that, and the information that they have left behind is something like maybe there's a regret or something that was not said or something. There's information in the relationship that's being held there in the field. There's a fear there. So as we maybe address that fear, then we integrate this person into our reality, letting their spirit fly free, because they're not held and bound by this condition that we have a fear that we didn't.
It's being relived.
Yeah, because we're not able to let it go or accept it as what happened in that experience. So maybe they passed and we weren't there, or didn't get to say something. That energy is held, and as we address those situations inside of ourselves, that person becomes more a part of who we are. That information of who they are, the love and fear, is passed through, and it is literally passed in our nervous system. Our nervous system experiences both the love and fear of any human being. And when we're around human beings a lot, it definitely becomes imprinted. And we can see this with parents and children, because a lot of children end up expressing their reality in very similar ways to their parents. We take on our parents' ways of accepting the fear of life, right? And so, this is a generational thing. And we've been working with accepting a lot of this extra fear in the world from generation to generation. All the fear that can't be accepted is then passed to the next generation. All the fear that cannot be accepted in this reality, maybe it is the war, maybe it is all the separation and the human trafficking. If it can't be accepted, it just keeps getting passed to the next generation, to the next generation. So as we start to embrace our fears of this reality, we soften its conditioned hold it has on us. Whether that conditioned hold is a regret of letting somebody and their spirit free from this condition, that we may hold our own fear of letting them go, our own fear of them not being with us anymore. And it's not to say that happens overnight, because when we are close to somebody, it takes time, it takes process, and it is acknowledging that we are going through this experience of actually, um, uh, it is the fear of death there, but we're missing this person. And as we accept that, those loves and fear of their personality, like, my grandparents, my grandmothers, um, I would have this experience of cooking pancakes, and it's like bringing both of my grandparents, both my grandmothers, into my body, and being with them while cooking pancakes, because this was something that was a recipe. Yeah, it's a remembrance of them, because it's their recipe and they both made them, and it's kind of like now I'm embodying their spirits, and actually having an opportunity to commune with them in that way. And there's all little types of things I do in my life that I see them in it.
Yeah. So I'm going to say it from the opposite side, because there's heaven and earth, and earth to heaven. So we could say that the reason that you make the pancakes and see them in your life is because they're coming through to process through you.
Yeah.
And there's a part of you that thinks you're remembering them, but are you remembering them because their information is coming, is fluid, and is trying to process the fears, fear of love, that they weren't able to do in their lifetime. And so they may need to come back around, depending, you can be here, doesn't matter what you believe, what you don't believe, whatnot. You're all welcome. But
all those contractions of relationship, whether it's with a relationship with somebody who's passed, or a relationship with somebody who's alive, or a relationship with ourselves, it is all accepting the love and fear of life. And really, if there's fears that were hard for us to accept in our life, they're held in the field.
Well, the thing is, and this is something we talked about as well. Yeah. So there's multiple things going on here, stories and aspects. So I'm going to talk about it from what's living and reliving through my eyes, and you're going to do it through what needs to be healed and released and shifted and whatnot through yours. So I guess coming to why we show up here and what we do in the world as our service is to share that we can process and we can heal, right, the fear of love, our wounds, our certain experiences, our traumas and whatnot, while we're still here. And that's what the yogis and yoginis do. That's what we practice every single day, is cleaning. It's what my name means, Simran Ishnan Kaur. Right? The Ishnan is the cleansing, cleaning of the karma for the remembrance of God. Simran, right?
Yeah. Basically accepting fear to acknowledge unconditional love.
You're processing, and you're, in some people might say, purging, or, we're talking about the catalytic experience, like what's a catalyst, because the mystic experience, or a mystical experience, and that might have been just what we did to start with the gong or the oms, or when we sit together, when we're speaking and connected to source, then there may be an experience that you feel, you sense, you have a sensation in the body, or you see, feel, sense, know, taste, smell the experience, whatever your ways of experiencing are, right? So you're doing that. You looked at me and I just completely, my stream of information was disrupted by the Jedi glance. But so tell me where I was, because I was going somewhere. How you experience the information.
Yeah, it's all a
the processing.
processing. Yeah.
If we're not processing and clearing, cleaning, healing, basically. I'm all about healing. Everything we do, how that heals, meaning just shifts. And the belief is a key, but also the mystic experience, or you could call it, I don't know, there's all sorts of names, but the catalytic experience, that's what it was. So I guess, what is a catalytic experience? So when you're watching movies or theatre or whatnot, or even those shows where there are the mystics, I don't know if any of you have seen them, and they're like bringing up the trauma. And there's multiple ways that they can do that, but often it's in the field of the person and the memory of the people. So it's sort of like a psychic read of the information around the person, what they're holding, the memories or the memories of the people, right? They're just reading that. So that can bring up a lot of like heart, sorrow, sadness, grief, loss, because there's unresolved, there's the not knowing, okay?
Yeah, there's some fear there. That's not acceptable.
Yeah. So by bringing that up and then helping the person, so it's like there it is. And then there's the integration and the ways of processing or having a new way of knowing. So the belief is shifted from, I don't know if my loved one is safe. Is there a heaven? Is there a hell? Is there a purgatory? Is there this, that, or the other, right? What are the levels of after death? And because they don't know, they're sitting in that limbo, and that's painful.
Yeah, the not knowing.
That's the wound.
So there's a fear there of not knowing
Yeah.
afterlife, not knowing. There is healing comes from that acceptance of the fear. So even belief itself is a form of accepting something really scary, something scary, like something greater than ourselves. It's like if something's greater than ourselves as a human, it's more overwhelming in the nervous system. We can't have something greater than our nervous system can handle. And a lot of what's happening with this transferring of information from generation to generation, all this extra fear growing in the world, and all this happening is really an unconscious process of expanding our nervous system, because we're as a soul and a body, we're here to understand ourselves as unconditional love. So we're working with doing our best to accept our experience of life, and yet then we have all of these conditions, these love and fears that were passed on from generation to generation, that share the information or the fear that hasn't been accepted yet. And so every generation has an opportunity to accept this information again and again, to the point where if we acknowledge and start to see that it's growing, we can start to see that it's growing because it's building year after year after year. And what happens is when we start to acknowledge a fear, whether it is a regret from a past loved one, or believing that there's actually a way out of this reality, that we can shift and change this simply through unconditional love, which is accepting fear as a part of life, both the love and fear. And when we do that, it softens the fear, and that's kind of how it's processed, right? So when she's talking about the trauma comes up, it's a contraction, and then the processing part of that.
You feel the charge.
It's a charge in your system.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the process is around receiving that within the nervous system.
Yeah.
As a way to process the experience.
Yeah. So if we look at it from a trauma view, there's the information has charge, has a voltage to it, right? And that will be created in the physical and energetic fields. So we feel it in the physical, but it's sort of in the field as packets of information, right? So when we connect with it, and often it's just there, we're unconscious of it, but when we connect with it and bring it in, so you go see somebody who an intuitive, for instance, or a trauma therapist or whatever, and they contact something that brings up the consciousness, oh, I feel that, like, oh yeah, you know, that hurts, and the sadness, the sorrow, or the anger and the rage, whatever that is. And while that's still not being acknowledged consciously, we're not bringing love to the fear, we're not bringing kindness and compassion to the experience, it will continue to sit there, and whenever you make contact with it, it will be charged again. So you're firing, you're constantly firing. It's like a car. Just got a vision of a car that's, you know, the spark plugs, you know, there might be, anyway, you may not know what I'm talking about, but the spark, it's sparking, but it's not the distance between the piece of the spark plug, it's too wide or it's too close, so it can't get the spark to turn the engine over. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like spark, spark, spark. So you're turning the key and it's going and that hurts. Oh, you know, oh, my back, oh, my back, oh, my back, oh, my heart, oh, headache, or whatever it is. That's related to maybe something in the field, a memory, a passed over loved one that you didn't get to say goodbye. You don't understand why this person left when they did. Unanswered, the not knowing, whatever it is. Boom, 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 all through your life. And that charge is, I'm going to say, in some ways, it's not wasted. I want to say wasted. It's not wasted. It's that there's energy being utilized to create the charge that you are therefore not using in your everyday life to create your vision of the world, to create your children, to literally make babies with the prana, like the prenatal prana that they need to have a magnificent experience in their life, and not, you know, not be robbed. Because when we create the spark and then we allow it to catch and start the engine, it goes into the whole system. The whole vehicle starts to work. I don't know if my analogy works, but in my head it does. And then we get to move forward. But while the engine's not, it's just firing, you're not moving as well as you could in the world. So for me, the legacy is unconditional love. If for me to, or you or us, like, this is the core, in my view, of why we're here right now speaking to you. And you can give your view, because you got your eyes, I got my eyes, right? And all my lineage looking through, experiencing through me.
That's right.
And vice versa. Is that if I'm unconscious walking through the world and not wanting to experience the catalyst or the constriction or the challenge or whatnot, and I'm just pushing it away, I'm like, I'll deal with that another day, no, I haven't got the capacitor of the to be able to redirect the electric or the voltage, the charge, the energy, the prana into the places of my temple, of my vehicle, of my body, of what carries my personality around, which are your beliefs and conditioning patterns, just by the way. Do you know what I mean? Like, we have the opportunity to clear, acknowledge, be fully conscious, right? Then make the choice of what we want to do with that, to process it in particular ways. So we're taking charge, we're the directorship, we're the directors of our lives, rather than going, oh, well, I'm just going to live life unconscious, who cares? The next generation can pick it up, clean it up, sweep it up, or whatever, right? I'm just going to let you know. Because, and this may be a shift in belief. So when we leave this earth, this physical body, it's not the end. And any of you that do commune with spirit on many different levels will have some direct experience of that. Okay? But I've taught spirit connection for so many years on all different levels, and I can tell you that it isn't the end, but it's not that. And we were saying this the other day. It's like some people go, "Oh, your loved ones, they're safe with all their relatives and whatnot." It's an energy field. It's not like they're sitting up there having cups of tea, and you know what I'm saying. They're living through us.
They're having a cup of tea through us.
They're having a cup of tea through us. They're speaking to you through us.
To us. Yeah.
So what is it? Why are you watching now? Just like feel into that. Who or what are you wanting to hear from? What do you want to know? What are you scared of not knowing? Right? Like sit with the fear of love or fear. The fear of love is the communing with spirit, the understanding consciously of what we're talking about. If there's a fear of love, you're going to push away from us. And that's okay. Try again next week. Like, just keep coming closer, coming closer. This is the processing of to get to unconditional love, which is sitting with love and fear.
Yeah. And
love and fear.
This is a practice of it. Right? We're holding a space to actually allow our bodies to be okay with fear and love together.
Mm-hmm.
And this space is a practice of allowing our bodies to experience that and just being in this environment together and holding the space that it's okay to feel fear. It's okay. We can be human. Mm-hmm. And that's where the compassion comes, right? Because we understand what it feels like.
The last piece of that legacy bit is that when we do our conscious, it's not even work really, it's just acknowledging. There it is.
Love.
There it is.
Acknowledgement of love. Yeah, it's a love. It's a type of love. Acknowledgement is a love.
When we do that, that's freedom. In my traditions, it's immortality, but not necessarily as a human, incarnation. When we have done enough clearing and cleansing of the karma and even understanding the dharma, because the karma and dharma, or the karmic and dharmic experiences are the actions. It's not necessarily love and fear. They're we touched on that the other week, right? Just a refresher on that. It's like we then don't need to pass that on to have to be redone in the next people. It may not even be our direct lineage, right? Because
we can project our fear on anyone, really, and it's passed on into the field. If they don't accept it, it's something that stays there for them because that's their fear. And so, you may be triggering in someone else, but it's theirs as well that they need to work on. For sure.
Yeah, so it's really, it depends where you live, because I see people talking about things and, I read and I feel and I look through the lens of unconditional love to see both the love and the fear in what they're saying. And, there's a lot of, there just is, and as long as I've been on the earth, there has been. And because you may be feeling it more now, and you may disagree, and that's perfectly fine, because all points of view are welcome, because all points of view are within unconditional love.
That's right.
We may not take that on and into our own everyday experience, but it's still within the container of what life is.
Love and fear of our life, that's what we're expressing.
Yeah, so where was I going with that? It's about, I was going towards how to free ourselves like what that is. And so if you're feeling the like so much fear in the world right now, and you know, might be particular countries that you live, or particular relationships or systems, or you know, something's feeling like it's impeding on your freedom in some way. And I'm just going to say this. I'm going to say this because wherever you are watching from, you have your own fear of love. And you will possibly feel that that is more important or more true or more, I guess, true and important are the words that I wanted to use, than others. And I'm going to say this. I'm sorry, I'm on a roll.
That's okay.
Remembering yourself is that war and conflict has been over whose truth is more true.
This, you know, truth is such a, because there's so many individual truths, right? And especially with now with technology, AI, and all this stuff, and we're seeing different things coming up and talking about different things. What is truth? What is the truth? And you know, when we really simplify the truth down to what it really is, what truth of life really is, and avoid the ego's disbursement of the individual truth, because individual truth is a way to exclude something, right? You're excluding something. So, you know, a truth that love and fear are a part of life actually allows for the unconditional love to express itself in this reality. When we put a bunch of conditions on unconditional love, it just comes out as conditioned love. And so when we start to accept fear, we can start to understand not only ourselves and have a more compassionate and loving understanding of ourselves, we can then start to have that for others and start to see that unconditional love that we're talking about, the love and fear of life that we're all expressing. And so when we're reading something or we're seeing something, is that love or is that fear? Simple. Because if someone's expressing their fear, yeah, does it something need to be looked at, or is there, you know, is it threatening our freedom? Is it threatening? Yeah, there might be things to be done. But when we accept that fear, we're not frozen by it, because a lot of times, you know, all the stuff in the world that we see can just freeze us because we don't know what to do, and we just feel stuck. And so when we actually see that there's a possibility to move past some of this through consciously accepting our fear, we're always accepting our fear, but our ego doesn't want to. So it creates our personality. When we start to consciously accept our fear, we actually start to begin to see our personality from a much more compassionate and unconditional place. And we can choose what parts of those will actually benefit our path forward, and begin to let go of those fears that worked when we were younger to help us evolve into who we are. But now it's time to accept those and let them go. We're moving past those through acceptance, through love.
Yeah, it's not necessarily saying not to do anything, because I guess if everything is love and fear, and you know, our experience on this earth is fear, right? We're the feminine drop, for instance, right? Heaven and earth, we're the earth, right? So if we really consider where we are, like literally we're on earth, we're embodied, we get to make the choice consciously. It's not to say that you don't fight for a cause, or you don't poke and provoke, because that's what we do in yoga. The teacher pokes and provokes for illumination, right? In you know, we're here giving you little aspects of ritual, which are how the nervous system works. As I was listening to you speak about that, this is why those, you know, the those sort of, I'm going to call them mystical experiences, they heal, is because they're connecting with the nervous system in a particular way. So if you do go into freeze or feigned death, or some of those other F's, right? It's not necessarily fight and flight, but when you chant or breathe consciously, you are actually toning the vagal nerve, right? You're actually toning, part of the nervous system that regulates the trauma, right? So you get to go into a rest and digest part. You get to go into a place where the healing starts to happen, even just for a moment. So when we do that, then we have the opportunity to go, yeah, I'm scared, or I have a fear of survival. So I don't have finances coming in, or I don't have a job, or I'm going to lose my job, or I have to move country, or I have to, whatever it is for you. I don't know what some people, I don't have enough, I can't find eggs and I'm a baker, right? If you're in some places don't have eggs, right? But imagine if your livelihood was a bakery or baked goods, or I don't know what else has eggs in it, but you know what I mean? So the fear, the survival fear coming up, it doesn't mean you don't take action. It's being conscious that, I'm scared that we're not going to survive in the way that we have. Okay, what part of that can I be okay with, be friends with, have some kindness to? It doesn't mean it's going to go away, but there you're not creating that spiral of the nervous system to go blindly forward. And this is where we start to impact and hurt and harm others, and we don't even know we're doing it. So some of us, we're human too.
Mm-hmm.
When we're writing something or when we're speaking, what we say may hit somebody in the heart or the head or the butt, whatever, right? And they have a response to it. And it's not straight away reacting. It's about going, I feel this in my body. Where's the fear here? What is it about what they've said, or what, So this gives you the opportunity to understand, or at least have some compassion for the other. While we're continually going, it's all about love, and we don't want to acknowledge any of the fear, you're going to have war. You're going to have suffering. You're going to have not healing. You're going to have trauma. It's the way it works. And so what the House of Unconditional Love is about is just that, a space where we can unfold and see in our everyday life where we can bring in ways, or more ways, to be a little more conscious of our fears, our fear of love.
Because that's what helps us be conscious. When we accept a fear, we become conscious of that experience. When we're afraid of an experience, we come at it from an unconscious place, which is a fight or flight way of living. Fight, flight, freeze, all that.
I mean, even coming on today, because I have my little notes. This is, I sit and my students know I write notes. You can't see on Instagram. You can see I've got some little notes of some things, the story, right, connecting with spirit and whatnot. And I'm having a cup of tea, and we do our own rituals and before we come on, and our preparation, whatnot. But I was writing them, and I could feel I was channeling it in some ways, but then I realized, this is the process even for my teachings, that I have lesson plans or things that I'm going to talk about, very structured, but when I show up, I barely touch on it, and sometimes I don't touch on it. And I sort of had a little laugh in my head when you said something to me. I can't remember what it was, and I acknowledged, I know I'm not even going to use this. It's most likely I'm not even going to use this, but there was a pattern of behavior that is be prepared. And it's something that I acknowledge because it's a fear that I'm not prepared. But how I work, I don't need to be prepared because I channel it.
Yeah. The preparing is more like a way of processing
Yeah.
the lead up, the information that you're going to be sharing, or that we're going to be sharing. So we're feeling in our bodies the information of what we're going to be sharing, and there's a relationship with that anticipation. Anytime you speak or you go on stage, or public speaking is challenging in that way because it's being vulnerable in front of people like that, and
it's not about the speaking, it's about the information and how it comes through. So for me, anyway.
Yeah. Oh no.
For some
the way
people,
it feels in my body for sure.
I can talk a leg off a chair. That's not my. However, so I guess rounding that up, have we touched everything we wanted to touch on? So we had, let me actually look at my little notes. So we had generational fears, fears of ancestors.
This does come back, the one, so what we're talking about is all of these different fears, all of these different expressions, all of this fear in the world comes from one place.
Mm-hmm.
And it's understanding that when we can see that it comes from, or just acknowledge that it comes from this place, we start to create a belief, and in that belief we create possibilities.
What do you mean by it comes from this place?
This place is all of this information on the planet Earth. Everything that's been created here is
this place, is what you're saying.
Yeah, this conditional reality.
Because I was going to say, what, this place?
No,
it's all you.
No. This reality. Right? It's all from unconditional love, and so the fears come from
this
world is created.
This physical plane that you can see, your relative reality.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Okay.
It's all unconditional
love.
love.
So it's coming from.
So how we understand that is that all of this information, all of these fears, all of this information, and all of the different experiences we have, all come from unconditional love.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, all of our fears and all of this, any fear that comes up is from unconditional love, and that belief allows us to begin to have a relationship with the fear inside of us.
Yeah,
right?
yes.
It's saying that if all the information in the world and all the information outside of the world, conditionally, unconditionally, is unconditional love, and the reality of putting all of that into a nervous system is what I call a primordial fear. It's like the original fear, because all of the other fears stem from bits and pieces of this unconditional love. They're all part of the unconditional love. So just recognizing that they're all coming from an unconditional place helps us to accept it as a part of life, so we can begin a relationship with it, just begin a relationship with it, so that we can have a healthier relationship with the fear and love that we experience in our everyday life. So as we begin to acknowledge this love and fear inside of ourselves, and we see this unconditional love and this relationship here, it becomes easy to see it in the world. And that is the power of unconditional love, because when we can see it in the world, and more of us come to see it in the world, this is the world we create, a world of unconditional love. A world of human beings accepting and owning their love and fear, not projecting it in the world. And that is a heaven on earth that we can live in. And if you're interested in supporting the movement of unconditional love and a conditional world, please don't hesitate to donate and support this opportunity that we have right now to all share in this unconditional love and share it with the world together.
So there's a QR code on your screen, and I think we'll end with, you want to do the goal?
Sure.
And we may be able to get 5 minutes in of sitting together. And I guess when we sit together, if you choose to do that, take it as an opportunity to be in the container that we set. So we set up this container at the beginning with all of the directions, the OMs, to, build a safe place for you to start to feel and experience. And this is, in this last 5 minutes or so, a place to relax into that and just notice, be with yourself in that intimacy, just feeling and noticing as we sit together. And, you could even make a placement of, if there is something going on for you, just make that placement. So bring it up now and just go, it's like, so this is an experiment for you, but okay, a back pain or a knee pain, or if you've got a headache or something, and just go, okay, yeah, got a headache, place it there. Acknowledging the fear, right? Place it there. And then sit with us, not thinking about that, just be in it. And just notice as you come out, okay, what now? Not having an expectation or whatnot, but maybe we can talk about this another day, but experimenting and being curious around how you being in that space of the purity of unconditional love. It's an experience that is healing. Okay. So we're sitting comfortably. You can do eyes open, one-pointed, dristy, or close your eyes and just relax into the field, the healing grace, allowing whatever is ready and willing to be. And may all beings know their true nature as unconditional love. And until we meet again, may the blessings be.
Hey.